Good evening. Welcome to this edition of Northeast Diary. Here we bring you the latest developments from India's unexplored Northeast region. The month of March has brought a lot of merriment with it to the northeastern part of the country. Vivid yellow and pink blossoms have started flowering, announcing the arrival of spring. The freezing cold of winters is slowly becoming a memory once again, as warmer days are here to stay. People in Mizoram are celebrating their unique festival, Chap Char Kut. We will go over there to learn more about this heritage festival. In this edition, we will also talk about the newly blossoming bamboo-based handicrafts industry in Tripura. The Idu Mishmi textiles, the traditional knowledge of weaving of the Idu Mishmi tribes in Arunachal Pradesh, is the second geographical indicator tagged item in the state after the Vakro orange. India Post has released a special cover on Idu Mishmi textile at Itanagar Head Post Office last week. A report.
Arunachal Pradesh has a rich textile heritage which is now being threatened by the onslaught of modernization and industrialization. Textiles made by the Idu Mishmi, a sub-tribe of the Mishmi tribe in Arunachal Pradesh, are prized possessions usually woven by the women of the community to supplement their family income. Weaving is a traditional occupation of the women, and the fabrics they produce are the symbolic significance of their customs and practices. To protect this rich traditional art of textiles, the Idu Mishmi textiles has been registered under Geographical Indicator tag. This is the second item after Vakro orange in the state having GI tag. India Post last week has released a special cover on the Idu Mishmi textile at its head post office in Itanagar. The aim of this special cover is to promote the rich cultural heritage of the Idu Mishmi tribe. Dr. Apapulu, Assistant Professor, Indira Gandhi Government College, Teju, who played a crucial role in getting the GI tag of the Idu Mishmi textile, believes that the GI tagging of the item will ensure preservation of the Idu Mishmi traditional knowledge on textiles.
जब हम लोग ज्योग्राफिकल इंडिकेशन में कोई भी चीज रजिस्टर करते हैं तो इसका ये रहता है कि जिन लोगों ने रजिस्टर किया है उनका वो पर्टिकुलर दे आर कंसिडर्ड एज द रियल ओनर, ऑथेंटिक ओनर ऑफ दैट पर्टिकुलर ऑब्जेक्ट. दैट कैन बी अ टेक्सटाइल, दैट कैन बी एनी आइटम. सो दैट इज द GI registration. So that gives the, you can say, right. It is a kind of intellectual property right. So that gives a right to the person or a group of people that this belongs to you and it is authenticated by the GI registry that is there. So this GI of Idu Mishmi textile will help जो हम लोग का फ्यूचर जनरेशन है वो लोग को बहुत हम लोग ने ये सोचकर शुरू किया कि इसको हम प्रिजर्व भी करना है और फ्यूचर जनरेशन लोग को ये कंटिन्यूटी करना है ये नॉलेज. क्योंकि कहीं ना कहीं ऐसा हो रहा है कि ये जो नॉलेज जो टेक्सटाइल जो है इंटरेस्ट नहीं ले रहे यंग बच्चे लोग या न्यू जनरेशन. वेर इतना सुंदर इतना अच्छा डिजाइन मोटिव्स है हम लोग को लंबे समय तक रखना है. तो इसीलिए IMCLS Idu Mishmi लिटरेरी एंड कल्चरल सोसाइटी नवाब बिंकुल जी ने शुरुआत करके मुझे चेयरमैन बनाया उसका. उसके बाद फिर विद द हेल्प ऑफ रिवाज एंड नंदिनी मैडम हम लोगों ने ये स्टार्ट किया. तो ये स्टार्ट किया 2017 में और 2 साल लग गया हम लोगों को सब पेपर वर्क सब करने में. 2019 में हम लोग को पूरा फाइनली सब कुछ हो गया. अभी चल भी रहा है हम लोग का. वहाँ पे कुछ सेंटर्स खुले हैं जिसमें हम लोग प्रोडक्ट्स रख रहे हैं. तो प्रोडक्ट्स में डिमांड्स आ रहा है. तो डिमांड्स आएंगे तो नेचुरली ये जो इसका जो डिमांड्स बढ़ते जाएगा तो आदमी लोगों को यंग जनरेशन को भी लगने लगे कि चलो ये भी एक लाइवलीहुड बन सकता है. तो इस तरह से हम लोग देखेंगे कि GI करने के साथ साथ हम लोग का जो ट्रेडिशनल नॉलेज भी बचा रहेगा और बच्चों को कमाने का जरिया भी मिल जाए.
Today, though the Mishmi associations and organizations are promoting the use of natural fibers, synthetic yarns are being excessively used instead of cotton due to its easy availability. Though there is some compromise with the fibers, but the GI tagging of the Idu Mishmi traditional knowledge of weaving ensures its protections from the onslaught of modernity. For Northeast Diary, this is Rakesh Tole, Air News, Itanagar.
Ayush Minister Sarbanand Sonowal has announced a major investment of more than 100 crore rupees to develop the Ayush healthcare sector in Nagaland. The investment includes 30-bedded integrated Ayush hospital at Kifire, 10-bedded Ayush hospitals each at Mokokchung, Nagaland University in Dimapur and Wokha, and a state-of-the-art Ayurvedic college at Longlang with an estimated cost of 70 crore rupees. Our Kohima correspondent has the details.
Union Minister Sarbananda Sonowal, who was on a 2-day visit to Nagaland, inaugurated the integrated Ayush hospital at Raja Chedama under Kohima district on March 4. He also unveiled a monolith of the hospital. The integrated Ayush Hospital Raja project costing 9.17 crore rupees were sanctioned in the year 2018, measuring 3.50 acres of land. Addressing the gathering, Mr. Sonowal said Ayush industry is getting the center stage by rendering its services through its products.
Nowadays, Government of India, under the dynamic leadership of Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, the Ayush ministries has been given priority to focus project, promote and development. So that is why now Honorable Prime Minister in the last 7 years of his regime, he has taken lot of initiative from the front. So this is how the present days Ayush is getting the center stage by rendering the service through its products to protect the health of the human being. And in the COVID-19 pandemic, along with the modern system of medicine, this traditional system of medicine have also played a big role. And as a result, now Ayush products become acceptable, credible to the human society in the group. That is why the Ayush industry, within a short span of time during the leadership of our Honorable Prime Minister, in the last 7 years of his leadership, now Ayush industry, through its products, could create $18.2 billion market in the group. So I believe this is an industry for which we can create avenues for employment generation, income generation, and this is an industry full of natural flavor. This is an industry totally eco-friendly. This is an industry always admire ecology and environment. That is why the people of Nagaland has a big rule to. I could declare 10-bedded integrated Ayush hospital, 3 numbers, 30-bedded integrated hospital, 1 and 1 Ayurvedic college. This will cross more than 100 crores from our side.
On the occasion, the Union Minister also virtually laid the foundation stone for integrated Ayush hospitals at Tuli, Mokokchung, Nagaland University, Medzipama, Dimapur and Kipiri. For AIR News Kohima, this is Asanyo for Northeast Diary.
The community-led landscape management project implemented by the Meghalaya Basin Management Agency has laid special emphasis on the participation of women in the decision-making process for the village. They have made it a mandate for a woman to be the secretary of the Village Natural Resource Management Committee. This committee oversees the implementation of the project at the village. In rural India, where women's participation at a village meeting is still a relatively new topic, the community-led landscape management project has been a step in the right direction towards greater equality as far as voicing the opinion of women and making them the front runners in taking important decisions for the welfare of their own community is concerned. Meghalaya, which prides itself for its matrilineality, is also sorely lacking in this regard. Our Shillong correspondent has more details.
Jani Mowyong village under Moflang CNRD block of East Khasiels district, located about 30 kilometers from state capital Shillong, has made great strides towards realizing the goal of women empowerment. Not only is the secretary of the village Natural Resource Management Committee a woman, but they have also chosen the president as well as the treasurer of the VNRMC to be represented by women as well. This has been the first instance in all the villages of Meghalaya implementing the project where all the 3 important positions have chosen women representatives. It has indeed been a landmark occasion for the community-led landscape management project where women participation is concerned. Baldahun Langstia, who is the president of the committee, reveals that it is indeed an imperative issue in the village as women are not yet allowed to attend the main Dorbar meetings, which is held once a year in the village. But with the arrival of the project, the perception of the male residents of the village has slowly started to change. They have realized that women bring forth issues which are different but nonetheless pertinent as compared to men. The VNRMC of the village was formed in the month of July 2020. The village headman has made it possible for women to lead the village Natural Resource Management Committee, hoping that the participation of women increases in their village and in the state. Trilin Malnyang, former village headman, is proud of the women who are leading the village Natural Resource Management Committee.
In my observation, in our village, we have women in terms of health, secretary of the MGNREGA, which has been a mandate from the central government. And we as a village have accepted that men are not only the one who have the capacity. So with that forethought, we felt it was befitting that women should spearhead the CLL-MP project. Perhaps women are only seen as the providers of the children and not breadwinners. But now the time has changed. We have women in important positions such as doctors, officers, ministers, MLAs and others. So in my opinion, if it is for the general consensus of everyone, I welcome this change of bringing women into the fold and attending the Darbar meetings.
While the road may be long and arduous towards the representation of women, especially in the socio-political sphere of the Khasi culture, villages like Jani Mawyong is making strides in bringing an inclusive development into the fold. This is Rustam for Northeast Diary from AIR News Shillong.
Tripura is heading towards catching one more milestone in terms of micro and medium small-scale industrialization, holding hands of poor man's wood, that is, bamboo plants. Enriched by bamboo plantations, Tripura is a well-known destination for bamboo-based handicrafts. Now it is exploring new areas of business and trade based on bamboo. Here is a report from our correspondent from Agartala.
Artisans of Tripura have already carved a niche in bamboo-based handicraft works in the country and abroad. Also, there are hundreds of small units in the state which have been in the trade of supply of bamboo mat sticks for making incense sticks to many South Indian states. Thousands of people of the state sustain their livelihood by making craft works and bamboo sticks. What seems a new vista now, those artisans are going to catch up now is making all kinds of agarbatti or incense sticks in a finished form, in place of just supplying the thin sticks to outside the states. In this venture, a big name is Bamboo and Cane Development Institute, VCDI. This government organization, in collaboration with the Fragrance and Flavor Development Center, FFDC of Kanuns under the Ministry of MSME, recently organized training for the artisans to learn about the extraction and storage of different perfume used for agarbatti making. Talking about the training program, Deputy Manager of FFDC, Dr. Sunil Yadav, said that participant artisans were taught about the process of developing the aromas and the metrics of proportions of the mixture of different chemicals to pull out fresh scents.
आज के दिन हम लोग जो है उनको थोड़ा सा बिजनेस मैनेजमेंट कैसे इसमें प्रॉफिट्स होंगे, कैसे लॉसेस होंगे और अगरतला में हम क्या कर सकते हैं उसके बारे में हमने उन्हें ज्ञान दिया कि यहाँ पर कुछ सुगंधित फसलों की खेती की जा सकती है। जैसे कि शुरू में पता चला कि यहाँ पे कुछ लोग जो है कपूर कचरी या जो है थोड़ा बहुत कुछ लोग जो है लेमन ग्रास पे कर रहे हैं, लेकिन हमारे यहाँ जो कृषि वैज्ञानिक हैं श्री कमलेश जी, उन्होंने उनको बताया सुगंधित फसलों के बारे में बताया कि इनका भी भविष्य यहाँ पर है और उससे भी धनार्जन किया जा सकता है बहुत अच्छा खासा। और इसके बाद जो है उसको हम अगरबत्ती में जो रिफ्यूज मटेरियल है अगरबत्ती में एज ए इंग्रेडिएंट प्रयोग में ला सकते हैं। दूसरा, हम जैसे यहाँ पर अगरवुड का जो पूरा जंगल हम देख रहे हैं, अगर हम उसको उस लकड़ी को पाउडर फॉर्म में कन्वर्ट कर लेते हैं, उसको भी हम जो है अगरबत्ती में एक बहुत बड़ा इंग्रेडिएंट ले सकते हैं, जहां पर हम चारकोल को थोड़ा सा रिड्यूस कर दें, जहां पे अगर हमें आधा मिला के हम कर रहे हैं वहां पे अगर हम अगरवुड को अगर हम प्रयोग में लाएं तो हमारी कॉस्ट भी डिक्रीज कर जाएगी क्योंकि यहाँ पर बहुतायत मात्रा में।
He said that agricultural scientists participating in the training also highlighted several local crops which have unique fragrance value, and cultivation of these crops on a commercial scale will benefit the farmers and also reduce the cost of chemicals used in the making of incense sticks making. For Northeast Diary, this is Rina Nomaitem from Agartala.
In our Personality of the Week section, today we have with us Dr. Annapurna Kaul, who is a health specialist in UNICEF Assam. She speaks to us about the intensified mission Indradhanush. The interview is by our Guwahati correspondent, Manas Pratim Sarma.
Good evening to all the listeners. We are joined by Dr. Annapurna Kaul, who is a health specialist in UNICEF Assam. Welcome, Dr. Kaul.
Namaskar.
Dr. Kaul, let us know what is the need of this drive?
Now that we are talking about the intensified mission Indradhanush, let me first by saying that we all know and we should all acknowledge that India runs the largest immunization program in the country, and annually more than 3 crore pregnant women and more than 2.6 crore children up to the age of 2 years receive the vaccination against vaccine preventable diseases. Coming to the intensified mission Indradhanush, so it has been conceptualized to actually ensure that routine vaccinations or the routine immunization services reach the unvaccinated or the partially vaccinated children and pregnant women. The 3 rounds that have been envisaged in the intensified mission Indradhanush, its main objective is to cover children up to 2 years of age which might have been dropped out of the routine immunization for the last 2 years. So we all understand that for the last 2 years, India has been, or in fact the world has been grappling with the COVID-19 pandemic, and that in some way has put derailed the routine health and routine immunization services across the country. Though we do see that during the second half of 2020, when we got some hold on the COVID-19 pandemic, the regular routine immunization services and the regular health services resumed to some extent, but still there was a disruption largely on the outreach sessions, there was disruption on the supply chain, and there was disruption on the beneficiaries reaching out to the sessions that were organized for the routine immunization. In 2022, when we looked at our data of the immunization that has come out from the health MIS or the HIMS system as we call it, we did see that there was a considerable dip in the children that have received full immunization. So we know that children up to age of 2 years, they are mandated to receive almost 12 vaccines. So against the 12 vaccine preventable diseases, so we did see there was a dip in that. And if we look at the Assam context of it, so we did see that we reached the full immunization coverage to the extent of say only 80%. And if we put it in the figures, so every year almost 7,30,000 children in Assam are eligible to receive immunization. And if we look at the 80% figure, which means only around 5,20,000 received the immunization, rest of them did not receive. So it was a huge figure. So if we then collate it for the entire country, so definitely the figures of children up to the age of 2 years that might have missed this vaccination, partially because of COVID and partially because of human resource being engaged in COVID containment, COVID vaccination. So it was a huge number. Looking at our previous experience of Mission Indradhanush, that was done pre-COVID up to 1920. So we did see that these campaign modes, when they are done, they do improve the immunization coverage. So that is why then now that we are better in terms of COVID-19 pandemic in the country and we have achieved a considerable progress in the COVID-19 immunization as well. So it was a well thought step to ensure that all the children who might have dropped out of the routine vaccination against the 12 vaccine preventable diseases, they are brought back to the vaccination scheme of the country.
Right. And as you mentioned, we all know multiple impact of the COVID-19 situation. What are the vaccination challenges posed by this COVID-19 pandemic in the country and specifically in Assam and Northeast?
What we have all learned over the last 2 years, so we did see we started with a phase of lockdown and then we continued to the restrictions and mobility restrictions and to some extent stalling of these health services and some other services in the initial phase of the COVID-19. So initially what happened that because of the lockdown, because of the COVID restriction on the mobility, the sessions, usually the routine immunization sessions are held in the outreach, which means in the community. Like we have Anganwadi centers or in certain places we have schools that become the session site. So these got stalled or these got stopped for some duration. Now we also know that Anganwadi centers were closed down. The schools were closed down. The regular session sites closed down as a result of this. So we had to identify the alternate sessions or the locations which might have affected the access to the communities to reach out to these alternate sites. Thirdly, we also know that much of the vaccinators, like we know ANM, Asha Didi or the Anganwadi, who are the regular field workers who are involved in the regular immunization, they got involved initially with the COVID-19 pandemic containment surveillance, right, identification. Then subsequently they were involved in the COVID-19 vaccination itself. So because of that also much of the routine immunization sessions could not be held. So we did a planning but they could not be held because much of the workforce was then diverted towards the COVID-19 containment and vaccination. Again, we do see that there's a lot of fear and a sort of hesitancy on the part of the communities and the families to come out and expose themselves as well as their children while going out to the health facilities or going out to these routine immunization sessions for seeking the services. Also, we did see that because we had 3 waves of COVID-19 that have come and initial 2 phases were quite severe. So we did see many of the healthcare workers themselves were, down with COVID-19. They got infected. These all things disrupted the services. So all these things, lockdowns, restrictions, then closure of the routine immunization session site, then engagement of the workers into the COVID-19 containment, vaccination, COVID-19 vaccination, and parental and community apprehension. They all led to the disruption in the routine immunization because of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Now coming again to this intensified mission Indradhanush 4.0, which is being implemented pan-India right now, would you please let us know what kind of changes have been implemented in IMI?
Right. Okay, so Mission Indradhanush was started in 2014. Then it was envisaged to include every child into the routine immunization program, right? But in the intensified Mission Indradhanush, what has been done, because we know that this time we have a huge number of children less than 2 years of age and pregnant women who have been kept out of the routine immunization because of the reasons just now we talked about. So there has been certain changes done. So the main change done basically is the focus on the areas that have been left behind because of the COVID-19 pandemic. One. Secondly, those areas which have a huge pocket or the population pockets that are either partially immunized or unvaccinated. Thirdly, it also takes into account the urban areas, particularly the urban slums, the unregistered colonies or the unregistered populations in the urban and the migrant population. Because these are certain, high-risk populations that are always on the move also. And they cannot be or they do not have the access or the reach to the regular health program per se. So that will be the main focus. Secondly, we also see that what we have fortunately the 3 rounds that have been identified for this intensified Mission Indradhanush is in February, March and April. So it also coincides with the National Polio Day. We have just seen that in 27th of February. So we have clubbed these 2 activities to actually do the actual head count survey, going to every village, going to every family, household to actually count the number of children that may have been dropped out of the routine immunization. And third is basically, we also understand that when we do these sort of, campaign mode sessions, usually they are during the regular work hours, say between 9 to 1 or 2 p.m. But looking at the fact that this is a time when many of our, family members and the parents may be involved in their regular work, and then we have certain areas where they will be involved in farming and plantation. So looking at that, there has been a provision of keeping a flexi timing. That means, so on the basis of an area, if the people are not able to come during the early hours, during the morning hours to the session site, so it will be basically planned during the evening hours or even during the afternoon. So if we can summarize it, so the main changes have been focus is on the high-risk areas where there's a huge number of children who have been dropped or either partially vaccinated or are totally unvaccinated. Urban areas, then actual head counts will be taking place, and thirdly, there will be the flexible session timing. And again, there is one more important factor, because we know that there are 3 rounds going to be in the 3 months, and they are going to be uninterrupted 3 rounds of vaccination. That means 7 days are entirely going to be given for the intensified Mission Indradhanush, irrespective of whether it is a public holiday, irrespective whether it is a Sunday. So all the 7 days, so in February, between 7th February to 15th February. In March, starting 7th March to 15th March, and in April, starting 4th April to 12th April. These 7 days will be totally dedicated for intensified mission Indradhanush.
All right, you gave us valuable inputs, and I hope that the listeners will be benefited largely who are supposed to, get vaccination under IMI. Thank you again,
Right.
Dr. Kaul.
Thank you so much.
In this episode, we will also talk about a heritage festival of Mizoram. People of the state celebrate the first week of March in merriment because this time brings to them the Chapchar Koot, which is celebrated as a festival of color, joy, grand feast and greeting each other all across the Mizo communities. For more details of this festival, we will go to our correspondent from Aizawl.
Come the first week of March, people of Mizoram pulsate with the fervor of festivities with Chapchar Koot. In the state, 3 major Koot or festivals are celebrated annually. They are Chapchar Koot, Mim Koot and Pol Koot. And all these 3 festivals are related to agriculture, farming activities and feasts. Of these 3 festivals, the most important and the biggest festival is Chapchar Koot, which is celebrated in an all-pervasive fashion across the state. Chapchar Koot is celebrated during the springtime, more particularly in the first week of March, the time when the farmers cut bamboo forests to make place for shifting cultivation. The festival comes when the winter bows out, yielding a place to spring, and that reinvigorates nature and brings freshness to human life. Talking about the festival, an official of the Art and Culture Department, Mr. Vanal Huma Singson, said,
It was mutually agreed by historians of Mizoram that Chapchar Koot festival was celebrated by the Mizo when they settled between Chiao River and Lian Mountain, which is now situated in Myanmar, way before they migrated to Mizoram. Chapchar Koot festival is a gala where everyone can participate, regardless of age, sex, and even tribes. It is a festival of joy and merrymaking where people gather at a village chief's house and perform chai dance. Rice, meats of domestics and wild were enjoyed along with fruit, rice beer.
Most spectacular scene of the festival is gathering of people who wear colorful traditional attire. They put on beautiful hats which are made from beads and parrots' feathers. Also, the traditional bamboo dance or tero is performed by only women members, while the men folk sit on the ground and beat the bamboos against each other. It is believed that Chapchar Koot is about 800 years old. In rural areas and villages, this is celebrated for a span of 4 to 5 days, and each village has its own brand of celebration according to their time, idiom, and ethos. For Northeast Diary, this is Irene from Aizawl.
Before we sign off, we bring to you this lovely melody from Mizoram, sung by Ms. Laldu Saki, who is an AIR artist. The song has been composed by Mizo legendary composer Mr. Rokunga. This is a song praying to God to govern the people and the government. Rules come and go, but oh God, we trust you only for the well-being of the people and lead us to the road of all goodness. This song is usually sung and performed as a theme song during public gatherings and assemblies on the occasion of any important public function. And with this, we come to the end of this episode of Northeast Diary. Do join us next week for more enchanting stories from the Northeast region of India. Bye-bye.
This program was presented by Saira Mujtaba, scripted by Suparna Saikia, produced by Sharmila Goswami, and assisted by Kamlesh Mudgal. It was brought to you by the News Services Division of All India Radio.